Hey everybody, how's everybody doing? Sorry for the wait. Just had a few things I needed to take care of. Nice time. Forgive me, my corgi is whining in the back right now. Just finishing up my setup here. One more second. Nice time. It's okay, buddy. Relax. Lay down. King's Letter. Hey, buddy. What's up? Alright, guys. So, continuing this piece from 2 weeks ago. This is Cupid rescuing Psyche from Hades, otherwise known as Hell. Based on a classic Antonio Canova piece, which you can see in the Louvre today still. It's a really beautiful piece of Cupid kissing Psyche and reviving her. So I was inspired by that and made my own version of it, and now am working on, I guess, what could be considered a sequel or progression of the moment, if it were to be a multi-statue sequence, almost like storyboarding. I guess I'm always looking at this as like statue storyboarding. I was just struck by the idea and just thinking how cool it would be for an angelic hero to descend into hell, essentially, to save his love. It's kind of cool. So that's what this piece is going to become. So how's everybody doing, dealing with the lock-ins and the pandemic and all the joyous things that we have to contend with? King's Letter, how you doing? How's my volume for you guys? Is everything clear? Is it coming out okay? You know, last week for the longest time, apparently there was like a buzzing hum, and I checked the mic recently and I positioned it a different way. So, Mikey Mike, well, I got a job working from home, got weed, got ZBrush, so you're all hooked up. You're all ready to go. Nice. Yeah, I mean, that's the one great thing about digital art is that a lot of us, I saw a lot of artists posting the same thing, same kind of jokes of just, same memes, just how, not to be insensitive to those who are not uncomfortable with this scenario, but it's really not that much different for a lot of us. For a lot of artists, this is like another day in the office, another day at home. um, Although, you know, for those who are a bit more extroverted or who's just aching to go out, it does kind of suck. And I'm even there at this point where it's like, man, I'd like to go out to that restaurant, one of my favorites here and there, and see some of the regulars and, you know, just catch up with some friends and buy someone a drink and go out and date, whatever, you know, just the normal aspects of life that have all kind of come to a grinding halt. It sucks, but, you know, I believe this will pass, and I'm just more concerned about all the repercussions coming after this. You know, what is the world going to be like after this for a lot of people who aren't lucky enough to be able to work from home, or even those who have worked from home now but are, I know their salaries, a lot of people's salaries have been cut. I was talking with my neighbor, and some of her family and friends have had to deal with some challenging times now where it's just not, it's not possible for them to be paid the same amount that they were before. So it's like a 50% pay cut. It's significant. So it's not fun really for a lot of people. It's not fun for anyone really. It's just, yeah, difficult times, frustrating times. Mikey Mike is loving ZBrush more and more every day. I hear you, man. I'm the same way, dude. I love this program. This lets you do incredible things. Excuse me. And lets you challenge yourself too, you know. So I'm still just kind of blocking out forms here for anyone wondering. Stitching on a head onto a very similar body, but started with a fresh T-pose version of his form so that I could be, all the muscles could be replaced in the right way and all the limbs and everything just moved into the proper locale. And, so just trying to figure things out here. From Singapore, wow. It says, hi Daniel, love your work. Kid or share, what is your workflow for sculpting and detailing the wings? Well, these were actually some wings that I found online that were just quick and easily, like, already done. So, these are not anywhere near the level of detail that I put into, like, my wings on Trico, if you guys have hopped on my site at all. For those who haven't, I'll just show you quick what I'm talking about, because I'm a big animal fan. I'm a big lover of nature, and Trico is the name of this creature. That's a giant griffin creature in the game The Last Guardian for the PlayStation 4. And I'm a huge fan of the game, so much so that I'm trying to make a short film out of it as a pitch piece to Sony to see if we can make it happen as an actual film, because I love it and think I would do a kick-ass job at it. But so that's in the works right now. But this is a statue that I made a while back and premiered at CES in Las Vegas first, and subsequently brought it to ZBrush Summit, and it's toured around a couple other trade shows. It was at Monsterpalooza, and was also in a backpack that I carried around, a clear plastic backpack that I made for this specifically, and walked around E3. the Entertainment Electronics Expo, the biggest video game convention in the world, at LA here, the LA Convention Center last year. So got a lot of attention for it. It was fun. But this is the epitome of my wing sculpting. So I guess if you have questions about this or this technique, it really came down to studying bird anatomy, just the basics of. Hey, buddy, it's okay. Shh. Sorry, I got my corgi. He hears things. He likes to bark. Hey, it's okay. Shh. No barking. Sorry. So anyway, so this whole process of making the wings really came down to, and it would be the same or similar for this, but this will probably be a little more statuesque or a little bit more congealed as far as the separation of feathers, because the way that this is going to be set up, I want the wings. This will be 3D printed as well, but I want the wings to kind of probably flow into a cloud of dust down here that I'll make, and they'll be basically the support structure for the upper part of the model. So making them anatomically, photorealistically correct would mean that the feathers would be so fine that I'm pretty sure it would snap with just a little bit of movement or bumping of the upper area, so there'd be a lot of chance for that. So I'll thicken everything up to be a little bit more like a stone statue. But the technique was simply, it's like the hard line of just doing the work, right? So learning wing anatomy of birds, learning all the different types of feathers. I forget most of their names now because I just learned it fast for this. It's like taking a test in college. You memorize the information you need, you regurgitate it onto the test, and then toss it out of your brain because you probably will never use it again. So kind of the same thing. So I learned all the feather types. I learned where they go and how they flow, and you can kind of go by bands. So if you can see kind of like the bands of different feathers here, you have a whole different type of group of them, a whole different type of array of them. And and then it's just a matter of placing them where they belong and then letting them fold upon themselves as they would naturally in a scenario where whatever position the wing would be in. So then it's just photo reference too. It's like looking up images of eagles, hawks, that kind of stuff, and seeing how they flow, seeing how the feathers fold. So that would be my approach. But since this is a little different, I'm probably going to still use this as a base, and then may just sculpt in more detail, or maybe even use some of the feathers that I created. I created like a feather brush for that scenario, so I might use some of those details to kind of sculpt in some more detail into the feathers on the wings here. But right now everything's still being blocked out, so this is all just kind of rough form, more kind of mushy and soft, and then we'll just keep going from there. So yeah. So anyway, what were other questions? This demodeler makes you crazy, huh? Yeah. It's a lot. There's a lot in there to learn for sure. Let's see if I can move that mic out a little bit more. Let's see what else here. Thanks for the compliment on the details. Did I use array for the feathers? No, array mesh actually wasn't used for the feathers in the end. It was nano mesh. So if you checkerboard, actually, yeah, I did. Yeah, so I did strips. Polygonal strips of checkerboarding. So let me see if I can show you here quick, like just on the leg as an example. Drop down to the lowest subdivision layer. So let's just take, for example, this strip. Let's solo that. So this is the same technique, except this is around a ring. Obviously, this won't be across a feather. I mean, across a wing. So you switch over to ZBrush, and I've done this only a handful of times, and I sometimes forget where everything is, so forgive me if I have to hunt around a second for all the right menu options. So what is it here? We want to do target as the polygons, and then we want to do is it under QMesh or is it under what is all this stuff? I forget now. It's been a while. Poly grouping, all polygons, checker. I think that's it. So then you go boom. Crap. Can't do it on multiple sub Ds. All right. I'll just temporarily. I'll go back and I'll do this. Delete all. Delete higher. So then bam. So right there, after you have that setup, which I just showed you. So you hold spacebar over you select ZModeler, you hold spacebar over your polygon like this. You get your menu, then you choose your action that you want on that. So that'd be, you want to polygroup it, then you want what is your target amongst that group, then your target is all polygons, and then you come down here to another subcategory, which would be checker, and that allows you to create this checkerboard. So now you have consistently alternating polygroups on each polygon, and then within those, that's how you can then target them with an insert mesh brush to grow out of only specific polygroups. So like only this kind of aqua blue versus the green, and then you just create a nano mesh brush, and then you can just grow it out of these basically. Let's see if I can do this quick for you. So these won't be feathers, obviously. This will just be, I don't know, choose this pill and do the pill and, oh wait, so how do you do this? Let me remember. Do this, and screw out a pill, and it's like digging in the back of a dirty closet. You're like, where's that information that I had from before? Ah, crap, and it's not closed. I want that to be closed, I guess. So, all right, close it that way. Boom. This will be ugly, but it'll get the technique across. Okay, so let's try to straighten this out a little bit. Bloop. There we go. All right. Yeah, cool. All right. So then I think if I remember correctly, it targets how it's looking at the camera, and I'm trying to remember if it's, I think it's this way. I think if that's how I want it to grow out. Then we do a create your insert mesh, new, and then also, is this, or do we just do insert nano mesh brush, create nano mesh? One of the two. Anyway, one of those works. So then we go back to our wing, or our mesh that we want to alternate feathers from, for instance, at least to give us a base. And then there's still a lot of handwork that goes into it after this, but this kind of helps speed things along. Where is the nano mesh? And then again, we want all polygons, or wait, maybe we want polygroup. Polygroup island, I believe. Is that right? And let's see, what am I forgetting here? Or is it polygroup all? Yes, that's what it is. Boom, there we go. All right. So then let's say this is your one type of feather, and let's say you made an insert mesh brush of feathers the other way. So then you do the same thing with the opposing polygroup. So now this is its own whole set right now. Now, only one of these is real geometry. All the rest are instances of that geometry, meaning they're not actually being, I don't know how to phrase it, other than they're not really there. They look like they're there, and they're being allocated like they're there, but they're not actually the weight of the polygons, the calculative weight, meaning the processor's not actually, I don't know how to put it. It's just, it's not handling them, it's not taxing the system as much as it will as that once I make them all real geometry. Suddenly then it'll be calculating all those other polygons, and you will acquire a digital weight very quickly. Your budget for polygons will be eaten up very quickly. So that's where it got super surgical for me, and had to be really technically detailed when it came to designing the feathers, then tessellating them through decimation so that there were less polygons but still had the same form, and then figuring out how to do this array with different strips in limited amounts. And then even then, after they were all grown out of the skin that they should be tethered to, I had to figure out ways of minimalizing all the different amounts of polygons that were being created, because otherwise it would have been over like 100 million polys easily, like a couple 100 million, I think, altogether. So it was all very like piecemeal, surgical, technically like very focused amounts of, first you get the artistic look right, and then once that's done, then you kind of seal it by saying make it real geometry, and then that's where it's like you've got to be, there were times where I had a lot of crashes where it was just too much for the machine to handle that I was working on at the time, and then that meant that I would save frequently and have to go back and then say, well, I can't do like 50 strips, I have to do 25 strips, or I have to do 10 strips, and then on those areas, I'd have to, so it was brain breaking almost. I mean, it was, especially because I did this in a very condensed amount of time, actually. The model took a while. I worked on the model for over a year, but it was mostly because I was working full time in studios and doing other work elsewhere. So I would just pour into it when I had free time or had the mental energy and brain space and just the physical, health to do it. But this is the base of the technique. So then once you arrange these in a way, you have all these controls here in nano mesh, and you can do everything. I mean, you can change their width. You can alternate their rotation. Where is everything here? You can offset them. What else did I do? I mean, there's a whole bunch of different sets here. You can increase their size. I think there's also there's like a random seed somewhere here. Yeah, random distribution. So you can do this where it's like, woo, craziness. And that can work for some things, but with feathers, there's a certain level of realism that I wanted, which means that feathers do not interpenetrate. So you have this is a feather, and this is a feather. They lay on top of each other. They don't typically do this, where it's just one passing through another in a very unrealistic way. I mean, of course, in reality, feathers can get really, flustered, and you can get them kind of, I don't know what the right term is, but the spines of the feathers can intersect and interlock, and in some birds, I think they actually do kind of have little hooks in interlock, or in insects they have similar things. But anyway, typically with feathers that just lay on top of each other like a piece of paper on top of another piece of paper, they're not pieces of paper going through each other, which happens all the time in video games and other things where you have very thin polygonal models intersecting, and that just breaks the illusion of realism, because we know feathers don't really do that. They're just very organized and have these beautiful overarching forms on birds. So this became another headache, where it's like I wanted that randomness that nature has, or at least a not extremely rigid, like mechanical look to it, which is what computers are great at, and your brains are great at picking up those patterns. So you immediately see that and say, oh, that's not realistic, that's unappealing, it looks cheap. It just looks like there wasn't effort put into it, which is what it requires. So this would only get me so far, and then it was like when I committed that to the mesh, then it was a matter of hand touching every single feather, pretty much all of them, and moving them a little bit, putting them here, putting them there, raising them up, raising them down, deleting some if there's too many, and just it's a lot of work. So anyway, so that's a long answer to your feather question here, but this is the basis for all that. And then you just repeat this process across a larger area of tissue or skin, or same thing with the wings. You do these kind of strips across the form, and so you really make things anatomically correct, like if you've ever eaten chicken wings, that's the chicken's wing and their skin, and then feathers branch out from there. So you have to look at how those would actually root themselves in the skin and carry on from there. So anyway, so that's way more than probably all of you wanted to know, but that's the answer. So getting back to this, sorry, now I missed a bunch of questions here. Yeah, you're welcome. Sure. First, the modeler was super intimidating due to large amount of Z Classroom videos, but it's not too bad and really useful. Yeah, it's true. Pancake Jack. Hi from France. Hello from LA, America. How is France right now? How is France dealing with this insanity of the pandemic? How's everybody doing over there? You guys okay? Hopefully not as bad as Italy. I really haven't heard much about France in this whole thing. Everyone just talks about Italy and China and America. I don't hear much about a lot of other countries. You're asking, okay, so Naraku High, do you use tablet with pencil or just... No, I always use tablet. Yeah, I'm always using Cintiq. I have a mouse, of course, but you don't use that for this. You need pressure sensitivity to sculpt well, and just the ergonomics. Like, this is my stylus, and my Cintiq is down here. I don't use a mouse for almost anything except when I'm just using my computer to navigate, like a web browser or something. So always a tablet or a Cintiq, one of the two. Wacom's the way to go. And let's see. What am I looking at here? Crash Caustic. I'm not sure if you're asking now or before, but now this is Cupid Reviving Psyche. So classic mythological characters that I am working on. So I'm going to get back to gonna try to finish up Cupid's pose, at least blocking out his pose, and then move on to Psyche. What's that thing with the Matrix code behind you? Oh. Everyone always asks that. It's a Matrix poster. Yeah, it's like lenticular or foil. It's a lenticular. It's not. It's a foil. Free Your Mind poster from. It's actually promo for the Matrix Reloaded, but you can't really tell except unless you look at the billing block, really tiny. And it's a classic. It's one of 300 apparently that they made. And then I designed I bought and rigged up the lighting, the rain for the code so that it actually looks like the Matrix. So I bought the poster and then I did the LEDs. I'm a huge Matrix fan. The first movie's awesome. Isaac, good to see you. Daniel from Lauren's class. Oh, hey, man. Good to see you too, or good to read you. Did I Z-remesh the character? No. No. This character was modeled this way from the beginning. It's a great model by a somewhat legendary ZBrush artist known as Nick Z, or Nick Zuccarello. He has one of his models actually stock included with ZBrush. So when you open it, I'll show you here. Is it Tools? I think. Yeah. So Nick has... I forget which one it is. It might be Nick Human here. I think that's the one that comes with ZBrush. But then I actually bought some of his other standard male and female meshes that are just great human forms that you can use then to create human figures. And they have just a fantastic distribution of edge loops. Everything's in the correct place. I mean, it's ready for animation, rigging, or sculpting, obviously. So they're just phenomenal base meshes to start with the human form. And he has also, I'm not sure if he still offers them or not, but he had like one that was like very muscular man, like going toward Hulk kind of level, or like getting very, kind of bodybuilder style. And then there's another kind that was more like this. It's fit, but not so like bulked out. And then you can actually, there were some that had layers. You could actually slide the level of muscularity. So you could go really muscular, or you could go more average human in shape. And then the same kind of for the female figure as well. He has some female figures that are great. So this was based off of one of his. And it just had the same kind of just really beautiful proportions. Very heroic proportions too. I think all of them were around like the 7 head or 6 head height. For those of you who know that traditional artist, design for human proportions. Superheroes are like 7 heads tall or something, right? So they have really just idyllic, human proportions to start with, and then of course they're easily manipulated from there. So that's where this guy came from, and both of them. So I'm probably going to focus here on something that's notoriously challenging and not fun, which is wrapping the hand around an object. So that'll be his bow. The only thing I'm bummed about is that the version of this model I found did not have that chunk in there. I'm going to find the old version here quick. Where is this? In projects. And I think it was one of the bows. Let's see. Is it this one? Hey, look at that. Alright, cool. Alright, so I can use this. This would be better. It doesn't have all the details in there, but at least I'll just use the core. Oh wait, there's the other. This one actually has the final. Oh yeah, it was just a 2. Alright, so it's... I forgot what I had time to put detail into, because I rushed to get this thing done. Like, this was a speed job. I just used my insane abilities to stay awake for too many hours on straight to finish this. That seems to always be the case with so many people and so many things in the world of art and entertainment art. It's like you rarely have time to put all the energy that you'd want, or maybe you will have the time, but it's not like wise to like kill yourself and stay up for days on end 36 hours here. Anyway, so yeah, I think what I'm going to do is just slide this bad guy into the other model. Don't need the pill. All right. Ah, getting lost here. All right. So there's that. I think I eyeballed this. I'm not sure if I moved this together or maybe I did. I don't know. Let's see. Insert the other bow. And where is that bow? There it is. So I'm just doing this just for the handle, just so I have something that's correct. Staying faithful to the original model so they're congruent. Continuity. Something that's always important in storytelling and that often gets too neglected. Ah, no. I want this. There we go. Whoops, wrong one. I want this one. There we go. Someone's asking, did they ask that before? Has he remeshed the character? No, I did not. And thank you, Vasquez. I'm not sure who's saying hey, but hey back to you. I hope you're doing well. Just did my friend from France. Let's see. Tags. You can print it. Hi from France. So how's France? Let me know. What's going on in France? How are you guys doing with everything? What's the attitude? What's the general vibe? Are you guys like... Is it Italy? I think that they showed everyone was singing in balconies and doing cool things with music and public spaces and well, private spaces that are kind of public balconies. I don't know how you define that. Private space that's seen and readily available to the public. Tell you, I've been watching more movies and shows now than I have in a while because of all the lock-in. That and playing some great video games. Can't lie. I've always been a fan of a good video game, but usually that means it's a good story or it's a great adventure and it has a nice beginning, middle, and end. And for a long time I haven't played multiplayer stuff anymore because it just felt like such a waste of time. But, you know, now and then it's fun with friends still. So I've been playing a little Call of Duty with some friends and just a way to catch up, just to shoot the breeze, catch up with life and what they're doing and what their thoughts are and things. Other than that, you know, played the new Doom. It was freaking awesome. It's like not many games get you that roided up mentally, just like testosterone out the ass. It's just unbelievably for a dude, man. It's very fun and exciting. It's extremely masculine game. Gets you pumped. Doom Eternal. Anyone else playing Doom? What's someone else asking? How's that possible without Shift plus F? How's what possible without Shift plus F? Hello, Trapped Flesh. Trapped Flesh. Why do I remember that? Where's that from? Is this just last stream? I forget. Trapped Flesh. How's what possible without Shift plus F? Shift plus F is just your polyframe. I'm not sure. I can't even read your name, man. It's so... Man or girl. It's like so... It's like a weird script. I don't know if it's... I don't know what I don't know what characters those are. Sorry. But I'm not sure what you're asking as far as if you're just talking about this. If you're like looking at polygroup versus the wireframe, there's two tiny buttons right here in your polyframe button. So you have that. Then you can turn off your wireframe or turn it on or turn off your polygroups, and just turn on one or the other. So useful, very useful stuff. So in thinking about this too, I have that other arm that's gripping this already, and that will save me time. Here's the other thing, guys. Never feel afraid to what might feel like cheating. It's not. If you're just trying to get something done, I'll tell you what. See, like this, I think I'm just gonna chop off this guy's. I think I'm just gonna chop it off like right around here, and or maybe I'll just take the whole arm and just merge it together actually, because to do this, to do the fingers gripping around that, to pose that finger by finger, and then think about like the compression of the fingers tips pressed against the bow and all that. It's a pain in the ass. I mean, it's it's great to see the final result, but it's not like fun. I mean, it's sort of fun, but it's like it's satisfying after the fact, like the sense of accomplishment. But the actual task of doing that, it's not fun. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's just work. It's just tedious. It's just having patience. That's a big part of art and making art grander and bigger and ambitious. It's having the vision and then having the patience to execute that vision. That's a huge part of what masters do, what the greats have accomplished. It's having a lot of patience. Or in this case, even like this statue, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there's multiple versions of it that were made. The original was made by Antonio Canova, the original sculptor, but then you have a lot of other like assistants who actually helped replicate it and create it. So it's like he can take all the credit, but it's almost like a lot of name brand studios out there that have someone's name on it, right? The Aaron Sims Company, the Stan Winston Studio, whatever like someone's name is, but then they have all these other artists and all these other very skilled people working for them, helping them execute their vision and their work. So it's like to really for some one person to take all the credit for something, often when it comes to massive statues or just big projects, it's usually not just one person, I'll tell you that. It's definitely way more than one person who has their name on the brand. So it's a group effort. It's many man and women hours put into great movie characters, movie creatures, animatronics, puppets, all that fun, cool stuff that we all love. It's usually many, many people involved. It's almost never just one person. Okay, so I want to insert that into here. Trying to think more clearly about this. Work smarter, not harder, when you can. And that's a little smaller, I think, so I'm going to have to scale it up to match. Yep. Osiris in that thing. Yes, thank you. Do I ever go outside of ZBrush for modeling tasks? Like GoZ, Maya, Blender. Yeah, I don't really GoZ that much anymore. I used to, but now it's just like I just export stuff out as an OBJ, whatever. I mean, maybe sometimes it's faster to do GoZ, but I don't know. I just like having control and knowing exactly where things are going sometimes. And sometimes going Z just can be a little, finicky now and then. So I'll have to just export something out as an FBX or an OBJ or whatever, and then re-import it. I mean, I'm usually not under the gun at such level that it's like I need to speed through it that fast. So I just often export things out manually. Maybe I should use GoZ more. I don't know, but it's not a necessity. It's not like you're doing something wrong if you're not using it. It's just an option. But yeah, sometimes I go out, but a lot of times if I can, I'll stick within ZBrush. I mean, I can go into Maya to edit some topology, and it's still kind of a better way to UV for sure. If you need quick and dirty UVs that just are automated and just look half decent, you can do that through UV Master and polygroups. But if you want, production level control, I find myself, I've been able to get away actually with Gozi, or with Gozi, with UV Master quite a bit, but there are times where you just need really precise seams and you need to really have clean, excellent UVs, and that's when you have to go into Maya. Because there's really, or like Rhizome. Rhizome's a really powerful UV program. UV Hedis, super popular. I used that for a while and as a Pixo. But then I stayed away from it for a long time, and then I got to Shade VFX and was like, shit, how do you do this again? It's just not an intuitive program. It's just not a very... It's like back from like 93, man. It looks like it has a UI from like the early 90s. It's horrific. It's grotesque. I do not like the UI at all, but it's really good at what it does overall. It's a pretty useful program. What other questions do we have? Did you make that UI, or is that one of those that we can choose from? No, I made it. Yeah, I set it up myself. But hey, feel free to glean whatever you want from it. It just works for me. You know, it's just all the tools that I use the most. All the brushes over here and everything upstairs and everything downstairs here. It's all the stuff I use the most. So it's just what I made. Just found out how much ZBrush costs. I have to work on a Wall Street. Nah, man, you just got to think bigger, dude. That's what I'm saying, man. It's artists. I was talking about this with another friend. Again, this comes up a lot in conversations about artists. Artists are notoriously bad business people, but that's true. But it's sadly so, because there's no reason why people need to be ignorant of what their value is, what their time is worth, how good they are at what they do, and what you can ask for, like what you should charge. So granted, if you don't have ZBrush yet and you're not working on a professional level with it, there are other options. So right now they have a subscription service, $9.95 a month to have the full working version of ZBrush. That's pretty cheap, man. I mean, that's really cheap. So I think you can afford $120 a year, you know, basically. A little less, of course, but like that's around about what you're paying. That's not much at all. $9.95 a month, man. Subscribe. It's a great way to, if you're on a tight budget, just subscribe. You know, or save up. Subscribe and then put that same amount or a little bit more aside every month. You know, saving money, man. It's important. Yeah, ZBrush is totally worth it. 100%. No question. Gozi can be flaky. Yes. The Phantom, what is it? Toll Booth. Any thoughts? The Phantom Toll Booth. Is that a children's book? I feel like a friend of mine gave me that or something like that. Was the Phantom Toll Booth, or is it the what is that? Is that it? I don't remember. The Phantom Toll Booth, but yeah, I can't say that I'm 100% sure what the Phantom Toll Booth is. Install Blender 2.82, but it's very heavy to use. Old version is not. Cool, yeah, love ZBrush. I'm working on Vader Boar. On Vader Boar? Is that Vader Boar? I don't know. Is that a boar that has a Darth Vader helmet? I'm sorry, I don't know what Vader Boar is. Usually $39.99 a month to subscribe. Andreas Walsh. $39.99. Really? I thought I saw somewhere that's $9.95. Saw it advertised all over YouTube or Instagram somewhere. Unless that's like ZBrush Core, I don't know. Still, even if it's $40 a month, that's still not that much for all you get in ZBrush. But again, it's like you got to be. It's all about what your value, man. Like, what is your commitment at? You know, where is your commitment at? Are you investing in something you want to do for your living, for your life, or are you investing in a play toy? You know, is it just it's just something you're doing for a hobby, for fun? You know, depends how serious you are about your art and your craft. I mean, I've spent a few grand on courses to learn it, and then I was lucky to be invited to be a part of that process of helping teach it and assisting the teachers in it. So then I was able to couple my acquired knowledge and continued education in it with being paid to do that. So, you know, people, you got to be smart. You got to think outside the box here. You got to put some effort into how can I merge what I'm doing for my life and what I'm earning with what I want to do with my life, or what I want to accomplish with my life, time, skills, whatever. You gotta start taking this discipline and figuring out how to put them together. You know, cross-disciplinary thinking. invaluable for all of life, really, but especially for the arts. I think it's more invaluable for the arts because artists, like I said, are notoriously bad business people, but that you don't have to be. I think artists should really start valuing themselves and looking at some marketing classes or even just online, man. I mean, you just find the right individuals to coach you in certain areas of business and understanding what you're worth, and it's worth it. It'll pay you back. You mean Darth Boar? What is Darth Boar? I don't know what Darth Boar is. You made up by your forte. Do any tips for game ready hair? Not really. I mean, I can't give you any from personal experience because I've only done a few hair cards, and that was still like pulling teeth for me. Only because I get the idea behind it, but I just haven't had to do a lot of hair cards. Otherwise, game ready hair. I mean, Unreal Engine is creating their own system for allowing hair to be generated. So the game ready hair now is actually going to be, you can create it with XGen, or you can even export out curves from fiber mesh from ZBrush and then import them into Maya and start working with them in XGen or Natrix. I think there's some settings in there you can use too. And Natrix is like a plugin for Maya for hair, fur, feathers, that kind of stuff. So there's a bunch of options. But yeah, I wouldn't claim to be the right person to ask for that because I'm not a huge game hair ready kind of guy. I mean, I've dabbled a little bit in it, and I'm sure I can learn it, but you'd probably learn it as fast as I would. So sorry, good luck, Isaac. ZBrush guy told me that they estimate 1 million pirated copies in use. Yeah, there's a lot of pirated copies out there. Sure. I mean, there's all software gets pirated, and it's shitty. Because I know the people who run ZBrush and who make their living off of it. Man, it's not cool when you know the actual people who are being suffered by it. Who are being affected by it. It's easier to do that when it's like you don't have a face and a name. I get it, but also ZBrush is not a massive. They're not huge. I mean, they're not like Adobe. They're not this like gargantuan beast of a company, man. So it's not that any company should have to absorb theft anyway, though. It's not ideal. So yeah, I'm definitely not an advocate for any kind of piracy. You should always pay for what you're using, and especially when it's not that much. It's really not that expensive. So yeah. Let's see. Django Paints. Sorry, newbie here, but you're sculpting off a 3D image, right? Isn't it possible to just fill in the 3D frame, or are you adding modifications? Sculpting off a 3D image. I'm not sure what you really mean by that. It says a model. It's not an image. And this is all originally. It was a base mesh, and then I did all the extra sculpting and posing and whatnot. So what I'm doing, I'm superimposing one mesh that I already built with another and kind of lining it up here to kind of get the right, because I like where the bow was. So I'm trying to match up the hand here with the position of the central part of the bow where the grip is. And that's why I'm just sort of finicking around here. I'm trying to line it up as best I can, then I'll tweak things later. Yeah, maybe you can rephrase your question a little bit, because I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. And I'm not sure if it's because you understand what we're doing or what. Let me know. Spent $40 a month just on pizza. Yeah, that's pretty easy to do, man. If you get delivery, it adds up to a pizza price. I love Pizza Hut, man. I'm terrible. I try not to get too much of it because I don't want to get fat. I just gotta work out more. Gotta get outside more now. Gotta use my freaking power tower and weights and stuff. I'm just being real. When you put it all together, you're going to be welding it. How do you weld? Yeah, I'm going to be probably, yeah, exactly. Yeah, what what does they say? Skepticide Gritch. Yeah, Dynamesh. Or even live Boolean. Live Boolean is a great option too. So that's where things are going to be going here. Either one. Yep. So this is another piece I've been thinking about, is like his descent into Hades, man. That'd be awesome too. It's just that whole idea of a heavenly body falling into the hell, the depths of hell, to accomplish something heroic. It's pretty awesome. Alright, so it's looking pretty good as far as the general position. I just need to straighten out the arm, so it's going to start at the wrist. So in this case, I'm going to hide some parts here and then have that flow into those. Walsh is asking, what's the end product of this model you're working on? A statue or figurine? Yeah, it's going to be some sort of statue. Yeah, this whole stream is all about creating models to 3D print. So all of these on my stream will be for in the end. It's not to create visual effects ready or game ready rigs. So you got an email from Pixelogic offering the $9.99 monthly subscription for ZBrush Core. Okay, so it's Core. That's what it is. All right. Yeah, so that's what I saw the advertisements for it too, but since I have had ZBrush for years now, I don't really know. I didn't really see all the details of what they're lining up for it. Yeah, so Core. I mean, Core, I don't know. Honestly, I mean, if it's what you can afford and it's what you can start with, go for it. But I learned without Core, and I don't know how well, and I'm really saying this like, honestly, I don't know how well Core services those who are new to ZBrush. And, I forgot this is triangulated. Yeah, dang it. It's not quadded. Fun. Well, we'll see how it deforms. It's not going to be pretty. But triangulated, tessellated meshes don't deform properly because of the positions of the polygons. And it can look pretty ugly sometimes. Most of the time. It's not the way to deal with deformation and changing of shapes, but we'll see. We'll see what we can get out of this. It's like riding without a helmet. We'll see how far we get. It's not the best option, but if it's all you can do. It's just it's very slight adjustment here too, so I feel like we'll see how it happens here in the bicep and coming into the forearm. Like, yeah, this is, yeah, it's pretty. How do you have the parts so quickly? Polygroups. Stream is for 3D printing, but what technically? FDM, SLA, DLP. I do all. I've done all pretty much, but I own an FDM, 2 FDM machines and 2 SLA machines. So this is going to be on SLA for sure. This is going to be on Form 3, just because you just get so much more detail out of it, and it's just less work to deal with really in the end in some ways. I mean, it can go both ways, but just the quality of the finished product is just superior to FDM machines when it comes to statue detail, that kind of work. You're not going to get the same thing out of an FDM machine. You wouldn't want to mold and cast an FDM part typically, unless you want to do all this finishing work and sanding and coating, and it's just hell. It's just pain on the ass. You want to do this from the beginning with an SLA machine, like a Forum Labs printer. If you want like really ultimate consumer or prosumer level detail available, I would say it's really professional detail at this point, because so many professionals use it for professional work. I know there's like $250,000 machines that Stratasys offers, like the used to be the J750 was like the high watermark because you could do color and materials, multi-materials. But now I think they have the J800 something. I don't know all the numbers now, but I remember the J750 just spilled off the tongue a little bit better than J865, whatever. I don't know I don't know what they're called now. Why pick only one? Trinity Matthews. Why pick only one? What? How cool? Cool. Are we getting IPA during these times? I stocked up on IPA a while ago, so I'm good. I lucked out on some of these things. I just, IPA is so cheap. I mean, it's so cheap. It's like 70 cents or something, or for one, or 96 cents for one bottle. It's less than $1. So I just bought like 20, 30 bottles, something like that. I just bought a bunch and just keep it together and filled up my containers for this, and I'm good to go for a while. I think I'll probably be more than okay until all this craziness subsides. So I kind of lucked out, and then I just try to stock up on things, and then, buy enough so I don't need something for a while, because I do. I don't print. I wouldn't say I print often, but I print very ambitious projects, or when clients hire me for that, I print stuff that's pretty high quality. So I just want to be prepared. So I'm not printing on the daily by any means, but I just like to. It's like a lot of things in life. You'd rather have what you need and not need it than need what you don't have. It's just be prepared. It's always not that I'm exactly a prepper, but I just like to be prepared for things that could be necessities or that would be a real bummer to be without. So it's like anything, save for a rainy day. I didn't really get that when I was younger, but I see the value in it now. And that's something I think it's hard for people to do. It's just like life. I mean, sometimes you just can't afford to save. So it's like, how can you save what you can't survive without using? So I get it. But if possible, just prepare for the what ifs in life. That phrase, people say they're lucky, and then they say luck favors the prepared. That's what I always tell people is luck plays a part in life for sure, but part of that luck is your own making of it, making good choices, seeking out wisdom, seeking out wise people, wise counsel, those who are older and wiser than you, those who are more experienced. Always be looking to those who are older than you and that you can trust, that have your best interests in mind. Often those are parents, but not always. It could be a teacher, it can be a good friend, it could be a neighbor. And I would say it's the individuals who care about the individuals. It's not political groups that act as if they're looking out for someone's best interests. It's the individuals. Political parties and groups often, I would say, look out for the ones that don't care about personal freedom. That's where I'll stand on it. It's just, you got to look out for people who are looking out for the best interests of you and others. And that's where you can find good advice. People who embrace natural human freedom, free thinking, freedom of thought, diversity of thought. I think that's the most important type of diversity out there. Just people to think for themselves and make up their own minds. Get the facts, make up your own mind. That's why I don't like a lot of mass media, is because they're trying to tell people what to think versus encouraging you to think for yourself and just giving you just the facts. Not trying to spin stuff on you. People are smarter than the media gives people credit for. And I feel like too many people that are complicit and they're just like, okay, yes sir, whatever you say, I'll believe it. Nah. You gotta think for yourself, man. Don't be a sheep. Be a leader, not a follower. Use your brain. Anyway, going off on tangents. Trap flesh. no or minimal cleanup. I mean, there's always going to be some cleanup in 3D printing, man. It's very rare that there's no cleanup. There's always going to be cleanup, for sure. Print mold ready pieces or complicated figure. Yeah, SLA machines can do that. I mean, you can do that with FDM machines too, but I would say go SLA most of the time. It's just better quality, better finishing quality. There is some cleanup, but it's minimal. Yeah. Especially now with the new Form 3, it's just like your supports just pop off like beautifully. A lot easier than they used to. Sending proper. Magneon? Yeah, this model is for 3D printing. Are you sending proper? I'm not sure if you're misspelling. Sensing proper. Yeah. This is all, yeah, that's the title of this stream, is sculpting iconic characters for 3D printing. So this is all the stuff I'm doing is going to be physical, real at some point. Although they're all taking their jolly good time. I know that some of you saw my Mufasa sculpture from a while ago, and it's still in the works. All right, so now I'm finding that I'll probably have to reposition that whole thing a bit. So I'm going from matching that up to where it was to probably going to adjust its place relative to the world space. No fate but what you make. Trinity. That's Terminator, though. That's a Terminator 2 quote. No fate but what you make. Sarah Connor's line. People older than me are dying. I better ask them for advice right now. That's dark and sad. Proverbs 14:15, huh? Hi, Saeed Farzi. Hi, I'm doing well, thanks. All things considered, I'm doing well. Blessed. I'm lucky. I'm lucky to be doing fine during this whole thing. Although I did have like crazy pneumonia like earlier this year, and I'm wondering if that was this virus. I don't know. It was brutal. It sucked. I never had pneumonia before too, and this like took me down, man. It was brutal. It was brutal, and yet it was weird. It was like the worst kind of chest cold I ever had, and yet it was also it wasn't as bad as actually some other flus I had. But it was weird. It was definitely, if it was COVID, I don't know, but I haven't been tested for it yet. But I'm very curious to see if I have the antibodies or not. But it was definitely it was unpleasant, but it wasn't as bad still as some of the other. It was weird. I mean, it was like my body was fighting it. I had spiking fevers that would just like come and go. It felt like it was definitely like walking pneumonia for a while, meaning I could function and walk around normally, but I was still like feeling all that pressure and congestion in my chest. It was horrible. It wasn't fun. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. It's just scary too when you're coughing and you feel like you're never going to get all this stuff out of your lungs. It's one thing to have sinus drainage and all that crap in your face and the headache, that sucks, but feeling pressure in your lungs, feeling like you're literally kind of drowning a little bit, it's really disturbing. It's really not fun. It really sucks. Anyway, sorry. What else? Thanks. I just know I like Pixelogic. By the way, I tend to scale models in screen to the real life scale. It's a good way to check if the details will pop in real life. Yeah, for sure. But it depends on your printer, you know? I mean, if you're printing at life size, that's one thing. And even then, it's like, you know, it's your printer only is capable. It depends on the printer, and that will really determines what your print will really result in. You know, so you can put in a lot of detail, but certain micro detail will never come out, depending on how far you go and what your model is. So it goes both ways. But yeah, it's always good to scale it up for sure. To give you an idea. but it's also it's relative, right? So I mean, I can scale something up in the screen to look like what to be the actual scale of what it will be like in real life, but you know, it depends on how high of resolution your printer is capable of. So we're quoting some scripture here. Interesting. Proverbs 14:15. The simple believeth every word, but the prudent man looks well to his going. Looketh well. Yeah, old King James Version. Nice. Yeah, man, Proverbs is one of my favorite books in the Bible. It's great. If you want to seek wisdom, doesn't matter if you believe or not. So many good truths in Proverbs. It's amazing. That whole book is just filled with wisdom. That's all it is. It's just good advice, common sense. Is there competition for 3D designers? That's a rhetorical question, right? Yeah, man. There's competition for sure. Yeah, you got to be good. You got to love what you do, and you got to be passionate about it. And you got to have thick skin, and you've got to be able to handle rejection and not take certain things personally. Art is brutal, and yeah, there's a lot of competition, but there's also a lot of work too, man. So it's like you might get rejected from this company, someone else gets a job, but if you're good at what you do, you will get work for sure. But that means you have to be good. Like you have to work hard, and you got to put your stuff out there and just practice and just drill it into your skull. I also cast prints in Sculpty and punch in details. Yeah, that's fun. So SLA machines produce cleaner prints, no to minimal cleanup. Yeah. Mold ready pieces. Yeah, definitely. Overall, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would go with SLA over FDM any day for if you're talking about molding stuff. Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're going to mold something in FDM, you can. It just means you're going to have to do a lot more cleanup work. So, not fun. It means just a lot more sanding. It means a lot more particulates in the air that you don't want to inhale. It's a nightmare by comparison. I mean, if you just want a nice prototype, you just want to look at and get the sense of scale or whatever, FDM is fine for that. And you can get some pretty good detail. I mean, I got some amazing detail out of my FDM machines, like my MakerBot and the Ultimaker. But it's just not comparable to what you can achieve ultimately with SLA machine. So, take that for what it's worth. Sorry, so anyway. Who else is asking what? You said the most expensive machines. Yeah, I mean, actually right now the high quality FDM machines are around $3,000, $3,500, and that's what I can give you $500 off, by the way. If you want $500 off of a Form 3 and you're going to buy one, I can get you. It's $3,500 to start normally. I can knock off $500 for you. I'll give you a code because I'm an ambassador with Formlabs. I'll give you a code. You can get $500 off. So you get $3,000, which is pretty awesome for an incredible machine, incredible detail. Actually, I'll put that code in here. So if anyone out there, if you guys are interested and you want to get a Form 3. $500 less. Let me find that code for you so I give it to you correctly. It's an amazing machine, man. Can't complain. I love the machines that I use. Formlabs machines are incredible. All right, so I'm gonna type in the chat here for you guys. If you want to pick up a Form 3, get $500 off and some free resin with it. It's going to be Form 3 G6 G6 MYFJ. Form 3 G6 MYFJ. All right, yeah, cool. So this is my Formlabs referral code. So if you guys are interested in it. Referral code. Save. So there you go. If you guys want to pick up a Form 3, you can save $500 right there. So not a small chunk of change. Yeah, there are really cheap MSLA. Is that mini SLAs? Yeah, there's some cheap ones out there, but you get what you pay for. By the way, how much more convenient is it print in SLA mold than casting a print? It's relative to, that's like saying how long does it take to draw something. It's really kind of, it's all relative. You know, it's like if I'm I don't know, if I want to make a ball, like it's easier to do probably by, actually it'd be better to do it by 3D print because it can be exact. You can make it in real sphere and then print that, mold that. It's probably more exact than trying to hand do a ball, for instance, a sphere. It's all relative. It's not an easy answer. There's also no one way. It's like certain things are easier to 3D print and mold than other things are easier to make by hand and mold. You know, it's all relative. It's relative to the project and also to your skill set and what you're more comfortable with. You know, some things like here, I really can't mix a lot of chemicals here. My apartment complex, A, because it's dangerous, and then also B, I don't think I'd be allowed to do certain things, and you know, there's certain laws and regulations and things you have to follow, and have proper ventilation too, just for your own health. So there's a lot of things there you got to take in consideration. There's a whole bunch of factors. So I can't do certain molding or certain types of casting here just because I live in a building with other people, and I need good ventilation and all that. So so it's not an option for me a lot of times. So I just stick to printing because it's a lot more condensed, and it's still a little messy, but it's a lot cleaner than having all these chemicals and vats and containers and all this other stuff. I mean, you got rubbing alcohol and you got your resins. That's it, you know, and then a box to UV cure it, and the printers are a minimal footprint. So you you know, you got to pick your battles and pick what works for what you're doing. What do I want to do here? I want to grow it. Okay. Oh yeah, someone asked me earlier. Yeah, I think I told them right. Polygroups. If you want to hide stuff quickly, that's what these colors signifies. Different polygonal groups. So the neck here is one polygroup. You got the arm here. That is a whole bunch of other polygroups. So if I turn off the wireframe, you can see here. There's just it's like a reddish pink, and then you have like a more peach kind of orangey color, and then you have a more orange, and you got different yellows here. So those are all different polygroups. So if I click on this, boom, if I hold Control Shift, boop, there you go. So it just lets you hide groups quickly. So polygrouping is your friend. If you want to hide things quickly or access or grow different areas of a mesh, always polygroup as much as you can. It's super useful. All right, so I'm trying to see how the deltoid here deformed. I guess this is like the tip of that. And so there should be a little, I think I need to straighten that out a little bit more. And there's going to be some more elongation of the bicep here because it's not contracting. It's extending. So just masking and yeah, and I think I could sort of get away with doing this, even though your elbow and bicep don't quite do that. Yeah, it's still fitting in better. And then I've got to sort of flatten some of this stuff out a little bit. I'm going to blend that in then with his arm. He's got a big tricep area here too. It's pretty good groups of muscles there. And else you guys saying here? It's great. Can you find a Form 3 owner and see if they take work? I'm not sure what you're asking. Can you find a Form 3 owner and see if they take work? Well, you're talking to one. I am a Form 3 owner and I do work for hire. Do I have any prints laying around that we can see? Yeah, actually right behind us. I'm not sure you can really see it that well. Here, give me 1 sec. That's the Trico statue that I made. I don't really have any space to put it here. I can just bring it closer to the camera for a second. My desk is kind of a mess. Got a bunch of stuff going on. It's just never fun to carry this thing around because it's awkward. But yeah, here you go. This is the prototype. So you got some weird seams in the face there. But yeah, you can check it out. Hopefully the camera's focusing on it. I don't really know how well it adjusts. But there you go. Yeah, oops, there goes the battery pack. So I kind of taught myself a whole bunch of electronics and a whole bunch of other techniques all at once here to kind of make this thing a reality. So it was a hell of a lot of work. I wanted to create the lights inside for the eyes because in the game, Trico's eyes light up, and then I wanted to create this little fire cauldron thing. I don't know what you want to call it. A little fire pit that's similar to the lanterns in the game, or the little fire cauldron things in the game too. So anyway, there you go. So that's one example. I mean, I have some others laying around, but they're kind of big too because I don't do that many small things. I have another small Ogo print somewhere, but I think that's, not sure, it might be in my living room or another shelf. I thought I had one here actually a while back, but I remember I took it to work when I was at a studio. And yeah, I didn't put it back where it used to be in here, so sorry. But yeah, you can see a lot of the stuff on my site too. If you guys want to see more prints, just go to lionarts.com. Boop. There you go. You can see a lot of my stuff there. Some of my better work, some of my best work, I guess you could say. It's on there. Yeah, the feathers were nuts. Thanks. Andres Walsh, yeah, to print out your stuff. Yeah, man, I mean, if you want me to print some stuff for you, I can. Just got to talk about pricing and time frame and what kind of materials you want, all that stuff. I always do that for different clients. So if you want to email me, and anyone else can feel free to for whatever they would like to ask or talk about, to shoot me an email at daniel@lion-arts.com. And we can chit-chat about any projects you would like to commission me to do for you. And if it's doable, if you would like it, if you would not, whatever. So, yeah, just email me. When I figure out the supports and stuff, yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, if you're hiring me to print something for you, I'll do it all so that it's printed and cleaned up and it's just a finished model that you would just receive in the mail or pick up by hand or whatever if you live in LA. Sorry, I'm missing some of the other questions here. What else is saying? UV screen versions, mask SLA. Which software is 2020 is best for animation and render between Blender, 3ds Max, Maya, and 4D? Maya is like the standard. That's what I'm using too. So Maya 2020, ZBrush 2020. Maya is just like the industry standard, man. I mean, that's just, it's what everyone uses. I mean, 3ds Max, I just hate the interface. It's not for me at all. Blender, it's free, but it's just weird. I know it's gaining more traction, but I'm not a fan. I had some cool stuff in it, but whatever. Cinema 4D, it's like more. It's become it's a decent 3D package, I guess, but it's become the motion graphics go-to now. What else here? Rather than go through buying one and learning the art of 3D printing, yeah, Andreas, yeah, it's a lot. Nana Bakey, thanks for the feather compliment. Do you have a sculpt deeper? Do you have to sculpt deeper detail in the digital sculpt so that it shows in the print? Yeah, kind of. It depends. Depends on the printer again. But yeah, you got to think about that because there's a little bit of softening that can happen with resin, flowing. But it gets pretty remarkable detail. I gotta say, you can get some pretty insane micro detail out of Form 3 now. It's insane. It's amazing. Yep, my pleasure. Happy to show it. What else? Yep, happy to help. Cinema 4D plus Redshift is pretty good combo though. Yeah, I've seen some people do some pretty good stuff. Redshift is incredible. I will concede the point. It is a remarkable piece of rendering software. So I'm just trying to line up the triceps here in general and the location. Of course, the muscles shift around a bit in this position versus because his arm was down in the original. Now it's completely the opposite direction. So there's some shifting of the different muscle groups. So like the triceps would actually be more emphasized here. Yeah. I still want to straighten this out a little bit more, I think. Still not the happiest with it. So what are you guys doing to pass the time? What are you guys doing to enjoy your pandemic lock-ins? Are all of you working still from home, or some of you just... thanks, Said. All of you guys just relaxing and enjoying life, or you guys stressed out? Are you guys struggling to find a way to find some peace and semblance of normality in all this, or what's happening? Coronavirus eat us all. Yeah, it's screwing everything up. And it's like, in some ways though, we're hearing a lot of hospitals are empty, It's like the media's not saying that, but I'm hearing a lot of nurses and doctors and other people saying that they're not overwhelmed as they expected they would be, which is good, but it also means that the media and that the governments have just kind of been... I think China has it pretty bad, but I don't know. I think in the U.S. we're not doing that bad, really. I mean, as bad as it could be. And of course, it's because people are staying home. And also, I think it's probably just... I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's quite as bad as that they were projecting it to be. There really is a... And there also... It's like this whole thing, too, about talking about... It's controversial, I guess, but the whole artificial inflation of the numbers. There's a lot of... There's a lot of people saying that... A lot of medical professionals saying that they are being told to put COVID-19 on the death certificates of people who did not die from that at all. Or they might have had it, but it was not the cause of death. So, gotta put it together, guys. You gotta think about this. If medical professionals who are actually on the front lines are saying that they're being told... The CDC apparently ordered that, too. That they said, if someone had it, just list it as the cause of death. That's some sort of bullshit. There's something going on there. I'm always worried about the whole vaccine push. I'm not against vaccines at all. I mean, I'm the beneficiary of being vaccinated when I was a child, but the way things are going now with vaccinations and how many different kinds there are and how much of a push there is, that's where I'm like, gotta think about this one, guys. It's like you don't need every vaccine for every single thing. And also, I mean, I think it makes sense maybe for those who are the most high risk, but I don't know. I'm not going to say that. I mean, I was a medical professional, but I wasn't a doctor. So I'm not a virologist, so I'm not going to claim to espouse any hardcore, irrefutable stances on it, but it's very suspicious what's going on right now in world government and control, and who's controlling what and who's pushing what forward and why and what their backgrounds are and who their friends were. New York Times just did an amazing, I just saw the cover of it and the headlines and whatnot, but they're pointing out that Epstein and Bill Gates were buddies. It's pretty suspicious, pretty creepy, definitely not cool. So yeah, think for yourselves, people. Put 2 and 2 together and then act accordingly. In case anyone's wondering too, by the way, this whole wrap around his arm is I forget what the right term is, but it's a guard for when you're pulling a bow and arrow and you're resting the arrow on top of this area of your hand. Let me see if I can line it up right. Yeah, so that's why this has like a leather wrap that's been skeletonized, so that you have all these gaps here as it wraps around, just the essential portions of it, kind of following the musculature of the arm. So I wanted to create a very kind of like biologically inspired arm guard. I'm not sure what the right term is, like a gauntlet for archers. So, we got some nasty deformation here. Yeah, gross. So that's gonna be fun to clean up. Anyway, so you guys got me off on a COVID-19 rant. Yeah, the bowstring will burn you when it zings. Yep. Yeah, and his other hand had on the original, it also had a I forget what it's called too, but it's like a little latch hook that you could have on your thumb, I believe. So it lets you pull back and then let go of the string without risking as much damage to your fingers and your skin. So that's the cool thing about. I love learning. I love just expanding my knowledge in general, and that's one cool thing about doing projects like these is you start looking up modernization of archery and other elements, and you're like, what would a futuristic kind of, maybe not futuristic, but just a more modernized envisioning of an archer, what would that look like? If you had the best gear at your disposal, what would that look like? All right, so I kind of destroyed this area, and it's like, it's kind of a pain, especially trying to get some of this detail over here that I messed up, all this area. So I could go back and undo, or I could do what I think I'm going to do instead, which is take it from here, Dynamesh it, and show you guys some sculpting techniques to kind of, this would also be the same thing as if you had scan data, and your scan data, like they laser scan a real actor or something, and then it gets all kind of messed up and garbled in some areas, and it just looks like trash. But you still have like certain areas like the face or key areas that you need to work with and that you must work with, or at least they have the volume of and you have to replace it. I'm gonna show you some techniques that you kind of use for that same sort of approach. So it's basically restoring detail in certain areas that you've lost it in, where you know what it should look like, but it's just kind of like a little effed up. So we're going to Dynamesh, create a lot of resolution, because right now this is triangulated. So triangulation does not play nice with sculpture data. So there's all these triangles, and it should be like quads, But if you have a lot of quads, then you have a lot of room to do nice detail with. So that's what we're going to have here in 1 second. So I'm going to do a quick save, just in case anything crashes. Dynamesh can be finicky sometimes. And we're going to go into geometry and go into Dynamesh. We don't need the soft, what is that called? The sub projection. Yeah, we don't need that. We want to check the floor in relevant scale to our, in relative scale to our piece here. So it's probably need to go a little higher than with our resolution here. Probably do a nice, I don't know, keep it around 1,000. See what happens. Don't want any blur. And Dynamesh. See what happens. What do we get? Okay. See, now we're getting even more faceting and little bits of like oddities here along the edges. So we're going to undo that. I mean, we could also try a high definition ZRemesh. We could try that too and see what happens. So we come down here to ZRemesh. And what do you want? We want detect edges. We don't have any creases on, so we're not going to do that. We don't have any curves on, so that doesn't matter. Adaptive size, let's leave it at like 37. Target is on the thousands. So I'd say let's go for like, let's keep it around half of what this is right now. Close-ish, 12. And no, it's not quite half, it's more than half, but whatever. I can do math. Detect edges. We don't want to do freeze groups or borders at the same time because that'll just create other issues. Okay, so let's see what happens here with this. It may not give us good results. It may mush everything kind of. Might soften it too much, but we'll see. So, ZRemesh. Not too bad. Lost some detail though. But you can see how, for instance, how clean, look at this, how beautifully clean this geometry is here. It's like, God, that's gorgeous. It's pretty nice stuff, actually. It did a pretty good job, I would say. I mean, the hands are a little effed up. So I think all I want to do is just increase the resolution a bit and then go for this again, because we lost some detail that we can get back without having to sculpt it all in. So we go back to the original. It's a bit sharper, so we're going to up this to, let's do 20. Let's go big. See how it handles it now. Leaving it adaptive at the same place. Oh, why is it in tries? Sorry, I didn't see that before. It is an arm guard and bracer. There we go, yeah. It's in tries because I tessellated it for when I prepared the piece to print by itself. And I'm not sure where the other non-tessellated part is. I think I might be able to find it, but we're here at this point, and it's just a good lesson to teach people through. So I figured I have a clue where the other version might be, but... Alright, so now we're getting some of the weird anomalies here. So another trick we can do, this is something else you do with scan data, is you have this piece, you like what it looks like, and you just want to fix some areas. So what you can do is duplicate it, and then we're going to do a projection. Excuse me, so we can use this as the target for it to be projected back to. So we can unsolo this for now so we can see both. So there are two of the same object. They're occupying the exact same three-dimensional space. So that's where it'll allow me to project one onto the other. So first we want to still, actually go back to solo for a sec. Still want to do this, I'll put adaptive back to like 50 and take our target up to, let's just make it 25. Let's get crazy. And ZRemesh, see what happens. Yeah, looking good, looking good. All right, it sort of merged together the fingers. I think I could probably just sculpt in that, because they are touching, see? So yeah, I can sculpt in that little bit of detail difference. So now we've got a pretty nice, let's see, here's just a little messy. That's a problem. Let's go back. So maybe I want to make it a little bit stronger where the delineation there and the plane difference where it kind of does that L where the guard goes against the skin. So I'll probably just try to piece this around and then ZRemesh it. So just kind of smooth it, and then use my good old trusty /3brush and cut in here. You can even divide, of course, your tessellated mesh, but kind of looks messy. Let's do smart subdivide. There we go, a little less. Yeah, that might still work okay. We'll see. But giving myself a little bit more resolution lets me add a little bit more detail for the ZBrush to reference and interpret as different than what it was, to get it closer to what the original looked like. Doing a little pinch here. Pull this out. Holding Alt and then pulling up, or really kind of just tugging kind of sideways. It kind of lets you go along the normal. So you hold Alt and then you click and drag, and it lets you do this. It follows the normals instead of, if I didn't do that, shit. Come on. If I didn't do that, let's see, redo. What the heck? Undo. Why is it doing that? That's weird. Let's redo. This is undo. Yes, why? That's weird. I don't know. Sorry. Anyway, so yeah, that's when you use Alt and push. Man, what the heck is going on? I don't know why it keeps pushing it away. So holding Alt and then clicking it with your move topological brush and dragging lifts it straight against. Oh God, why is it doing that? Lifts it straight against the normal. So the normals of it point always like directly out from the face of the polygon. So it goes up like that. But let me tell you, undo. It's going to disappear again for some reason. Oh no, okay. Now if I did that with Alt, you get up. But if you pulled it normally the same way, it would just drag out straight out, as relative to the camera. So a cool technique for the move brush, if you really want to pull something out from the face of the normal, is just hold Alt and drag out. It's awesome. So simple technique, but I remember there was a long time I didn't know how to do that, and it's pretty useful. So a little party favor. Question: you recommended investing in a Cintiq on a laptop and use a small Intuos tablet. Would I recommend ZBrush over Blender for sculpting? Oh, of course, hell yeah. There's no comparison. Yeah, that's like saying, do you want to drive a Lamborghini or do you want to drive a Honda Accord? I mean, Honda Accord's reliable, it'll work, but if you have a choice, man, I'll take the Lamborghini. Sure, why not? I don't know, maybe that's not the best example. Maybe it's more like a Ford Model T versus a Lambo or a Honda. I don't know. No, man, yeah, ZBrush is definitely better than Blender for sculpting. They still don't have anything on the millions of polys you can get in ZBrush. So yeah, if you're looking for a sculpting package, ZBrush is it, no question. And that's the truth. I mean, I would be saying that even if I wasn't on their channel. Of course, anyone who says different would have to be an idiot anyway, but I would say this: behind closed doors or in the public eye, ZBrush is the way to go. Alright, so just trying to get some edge here back, even though it looks crappy. It should be interpreted by ZRemesher to be an area that should be flattened out a bit more. But yeah, this kind of looks all messed up. No thanks to my reposing of it. But again, this is a great way for you guys to see like how to retain some detail and scan data of clothes or skin in general, or just how to get certain results out of ZRemesher. Doing the Alt again. Alt and move topological. I'm gonna increase my Z strength here a bit. Get that shape back in around the elbow. So it's looking messy, but that's also what high polish is for. So I'm not trying to go crazy in accuracy here because I know that the Z remesher is going to get some of this back, this cleanliness that I'm looking for. But high polish does do a good job of polishing, of getting some nice flattened, smooth areas. Someone's asking if ZBrush is free. Yeah, hell no. The strongest nerd. I mean, for the world, it would be cool if ZBrush was free, but for those who make it, it definitely wouldn't be good. This level of quality in a product does not come free. If you want to try something that's not as expensive, but it's not also not quite as good, but it's impressive, is Forge. I think it's called Forge, and you can get it for your iPhone, but it's better for the iPad with a stylus. That'd be a good way to kind of get familiar with how ZBrush works. It's kind of like ZBrush Mobile, I would say. I mean, you definitely don't have the level of brushes and just all the other options you have in ZBrush. But it's a decent solution if you don't have like a Wacom Mobile Studio Pro or a nice laptop with a Cintiq or a Wacom tablet. If you have an iPad and you can just buy your Apple stylus, you can do some decent sculpting on an iPad with the Forge app. And I think it's only like $10 or $15 or something. It's not expensive at all. And that's something that you can use to prime yourself if you want to, if you're seriously considering ZBrush, but you haven't done it yet. And you can actually export out some nice OBJs and then bring those into ZBrush and keep working on them and bring them up to a much higher level of detail. But you can output, legitimate object 3D files from it to work with in other programs. So I would recommend checking that out. I found that over Christmas holiday, and it's awesome. I haven't messed with it too much, only because I only have like an iPhone, 11, whatever now, and I never really got. I have an old iPad that a friend of mine gave me, but I don't use it. It's really old. Now it's useless, I think, but or obsolete. But I really haven't had that much of a use for an iPad because I've always been a Wacom Cintiq Companion or Mobile Studio Pro user, and before that I was working on my laptop. The iPad just felt like a toy. I think now they're a bit more useful, but still I don't really have a need for it when I work on I'm lucky to be able to have a Mobile Studio Pro, so I just work on that when I'm portably. I can just work on ZBrush wherever. Often when I'm Ubering across town, I would use my Mobile Studio Pro by Wacom and just sculpt in the car. It's great, but it's not cheap. It's definitely a work investment. Okay, so here we are. We've gotten some of that detail back that got smushed around. It still doesn't look great, but I mean, again, this is not for so much aesthetics as it is more from a technical standpoint. Understanding how the software is going to interpret those different planes, and that will then result in a much cleaner mesh when we Z-remesh it here in a second. So I'm just doing a little smoothing here. So I think that area is good. I'm going to do quick save. Come on, quick save again. And what else is people are saying here? Updates are free, yeah, which is crazy when you think about it. Yep. You've owned ZBrush since version 3. Wow, yeah. I think I jumped on board back when it was like version just 4 or 4 point whatever. Version 4, was it R4 or R? No, it was version 3 R4. I think it was something like that. It was right before 4, I think. So yeah, I'm around the same with you. I've had it since like 2012, I think. I think it was 2012. Yeah, man. It's changed in a lot of good ways. I mean, it's really evolved from then to now, and it's just gotten better and better. Yeah, I don't see ZBrush going anywhere anytime soon, but I would think they'd be wise to do what Forge has done and make a mobile version of ZBrush for the iPad. I think they'd make a killing. They'd make a slaughtering if they did that. All right, so I'm just checking out for other little faulty areas here. I think where this was the area that looked a little funky. And invariably I found myself thinking about the Hunger Games because I know what's her name from them? Katniss, whatever the actress's name is. I forget her name right now, it doesn't matter. Not a really big fan of hers, but but I remember she was an archer in that movie, right? In that book series. I never read the books, I never saw the movies. You guys tell me, are the Hunger Games any good? Should I watch them during this pandemic where I just have all this time now to enjoy movies while I sculpt? Should I watch the Hunger Games, or is it like I'm not a big young adult book fan. Like I like hardcore movies for adults as far as action movies go. I'm not talking about anything else. So I like, the classics: Terminator, Aliens, Predator, Jurassic Park. I love Interstellar, The Matrix, Upgrade. If anyone hasn't seen Upgrade, watch Upgrade. Holy shit, that is a badass movie. That's fantastic. You want a hardcore action movie, man? Watch Upgrade. Whew. It's like what a true modernization of RoboCop would be if it was made in the, it's basically RoboCop, but it's not about robotics. It's more about nanotech and the ability of the human body. It's pretty awesome. And then mixed in with, there's some robotics out there, but the main character doesn't really have any implanted or anything. Pretty awesome movie though. So I don't know. I'm a fan of just, pretty strong adventure action movies. But I like a good sensitive movie too. But I just feel like so many young adult movies are they're just meant for teenagers, and so they have this. They don't appeal to me as much. It just feels like they're meant for children, and it's like that weird in between age where you're not really an adult and you're not really a kid. And so a lot of things are just filled with cheese. It's just really cheesy and cringy and just like, ugh, this is so dumb. So, I don't know. Some of them have charm. I'll give them that. But, I mean, I'm a little harsh. I'm a harsh critic. So I was never that big a fan of Harry Potter, but I did appreciate the charm of some of the movies, and I love John Williams' music. He's a master forever. He's our Mozart of today. So, I did appreciate elements of the Harry Potter films, but I was also not I didn't read the books. I really wasn't a huge fan of them. I just, they came out around Christmas time. It was something fun to do and go see with friends. But I just really didn't get into the mythos or really buy into that whole. It just wasn't my thing. I know some people love it, so sorry if I'm saying blasphemous things against franchises you love. But I don't know. More and more I keep thinking about the Hunger Games, and I'm just curious if it's worth time. Is it worth watching, or is it just kind of immature, dumb, cheesy storytelling? Sound off in the comments. Walsh thinks they suck. Okay, yeah. That was my fear. I was like, this looks cheesy. And I'm like, eh. I like movies made for adults. For men. For women. Not for children. I don't know. I feel like that's the thing. They don't seem to have a lot of charm, and they still seem geared toward Twilight. Oh god, I cannot get through even the first Twilight. One of my female friends tried to have me and her at the time boyfriend, then husband, sit down and watch it, and we just couldn't. Once it got to that baseball scene in the first Twilight, we were just like, oh my god, this is just we were done. We were just like, no, we can't watch this. The books are better. Yeah, that's always the case, right? The books are always better than. It's just the thing. I feel like a lot of movies and books, or a lot of adapted movies, right? Movies based on books or comics, they really deserve a hard R a lot of times because they're graphic and violent and just really shocking at times. And I remember that was true for me when I read a lot of Michael Crichton stuff. I loved all his books, really. I really enjoyed Congo, and then the movie was kind of cheesy. It still has a charm to it, I think, from the mid to late '90s, but. God, that part looks gross, but oh well. this whole section here, this bar, whatever. Congo is okay, but still, it's like you read the books, you read Congo, and it's like it describes apes using rudimentary stone tools to smash people's heads. It's like, God, it's brutal. It's graphic, and it's not like I just want violence or anything. I'm just saying that it was a mature, made for adults novel. It was not meant for children, even though I was a child when I read it. I just enjoyed like great action and just high stakes, things that felt real. You know, that felt like there was real danger, not, oh well, it's a kid, or they're all children, so not many of them will die, or they won't die brutally, or, you know, it won't be. I mean, you don't want to see children die anyway. It's terrible, but I just mean like the real jeopardy and the real stakes, and that's what I loved about Crichton, is that he was always very he's just brutal about the world, and I think it's partly his medical background that really assisted that, you know, and seeing things in the hospital, like myself, and that's always something that I appreciate. Not graphic violence necessarily, but a maturity to storytelling and emotional maturity, of course. But that also ties in with the whole story. Is it a story that's told and made for and by adults, or is this something that's cheesy, made for teenagers to just kind of connect with and really to make money off of? Because there's such a huge demographic when you think about a business. PG-13 is why so many movies are PG-13, is because money. It's because it's the largest demographic. You get the biggest of everybody, right? You target that middle ground where it's kids who are younger than 18 can go see it, but you still get their family to go with them, their friends, their older siblings, whatever. You know, there's a lot of PG-13 movies I love, but I just don't get behind the young adult stuff. It's not my thing. Anyway, sorry, I'm just rambling. Girls movies. Yeah, some of them are more toward the female crowd. That's a huge demographic too. I think if you look at readers, more women read than men apparently on the regular. I think so. If I'm not mistaken, I think that there are more female readers out there than males. So if you write, that's why like romance novels are so successful. That's why there's so much money in that stuff. If you're looking at things strictly from a business standpoint, a money making standpoint, and you have no shame, you can make good amounts of money on stuff that targets demographics that people may not think about that much, or may not think are so lucrative. But since I'm not the one making those and have no desire to, I just criticize them. Just like, nah, that's stupid. No thanks. Not my taste. But to each their own, hey? I mean, for the ladies in the audience, for whatever amount are there, I'm not knocking what you like because it's geared for you. It's just not my taste. I'm a dude through and through. I tend to like some dude things, but I don't also like the whole G.I. Joe like meathead thing either. I like an intelligent movie. Movies that make you think and that challenge you, and there's suspense and some sort of intellectual capacity involved in it, if possible. There's some that are just dumb action movies too, of course, I enjoy, but it's the whole thing like playing Doom, man. It's just all testosterone run. It's just, it is kind of meatheady, I guess, in a way, for sure, but it strikes that right chord of having some really good writing in it, actually, and some good dialogue. Alright, let's try this again. ZBrush. But everyone has their tastes. I mean, that's it. It really comes down to a lot of personal preference and opinion. And ZBrush is taking its time, trying to figure things out. Almost there. And we are at time too, so I'm probably going to wrap up here with this arm in a minute. Sorry, it wasn't the most exciting stream probably, but moving along here. There we go. Let's see. Okay, interesting. It didn't polygroup it like it did last time. I wonder why. Interesting. Let's try a little less here. Let's try 23. Detect edges and go again. Wonder why it didn't, because it polygrouped last time with like nice loops along the guard. Wonder what it's doing now. Oh, excuse me. I was up really late last night. Tried to sleep in today. Okay. Weird. I don't know why it's not including the polygroups anymore. Why? Weird. Oh, that's weird too. Yeesh. Nice little triangle there. Bizarre. Well, it's workable. It's got the major landmarks. Or I might just spend the next week looking for the original model that's quadded, so it's just cleaner. Work with that. Excuse me. But, yeah. I don't know. That's weird. It was polygrouping before, and now it's not. I have to figure out why. Strange. I mean, I wonder if it was keep groups? But there wasn't. Ah, but that's the thing. There were no groups before this. It was all like that. I mean, there's like 2 groups, 3 groups, whatever. That's weird. I don't know. Try one more time. Bizarre. I don't know. Not sure why it's doing it. If it's somehow looking at the mesh differently. Because I don't think I touched that many edges around the whole guard area that would stop it from recognizing that those are clean edges. Oh, that's weird. Okay, it's not doing it. I don't know what's up. Weird. Oh well. Anyway, I think we'll wrap up here for now and carry on afterward. If you guys have any last questions, please let me know. We are at 10:04. Did I say I was going to go to 10:30? I forget. I'll go for a few more minutes because I know I had to start a little bit late. I think I started like a few minutes after. Let's get back to turn off the other one for now. 3D Angelo, hello. I'm also just thinking about the, I don't know, the pose. It's like, I think it actually makes more sense. It's more ergonomical to kind of hold it already rotated. So, yeah, when you think about this more, actually, I think it makes more sense to even go like this a bit more. It's a bit more natural. It's a bit more comfortable. The arm rests like that. It doesn't rest like this. It rests more sideways. Yeah, that'll be more interesting, I think, altogether too, because then that means the bow will be kind of like this. They'll do some interesting crossing with other lines from the sculpture when you look down from the top. It'll add some more dynamism to the way everything looks. So like, bloop. Yeah, that's cool. And I think this also is showing me that the hand is a little big still. That's why the arm looked a little too big kind of too, because this piece should fit between those two sections perfectly because I haven't separated that. So that means I should shrink this guy down a little bit. Yoink. Let's see. Yeah, actually a bit more. All right. Oh shit, wrong one. Scale. No, but then that doesn't make sense with the rest of the body. So I think what I have to do is scale up the bow. Yeah, come back here. Yeah, that feels right. I think the bow just has to be bigger because the scale has changed a bit from what the bow was. Yeah, yeah, it makes more sense. Okay. So then the bow is the culprit. Booyah. There we go. All right. Makes more sense. Cool. Let's write this again. Write this again a little bit. Ben S. Thanks, man. And for anyone wondering, she's not done at all. She's from the previous sculpture this is based on. She's in the old pose, and her arm is going to be wrapped up around his arm. Their hands are going to be kind of more interlocked, and then she'll be pulled up by him a bit. So he might even be a little higher than this too. So, and I might chop down the base a bit so she's lower. So there's a bit more of a drag, kind of a lift up kind of look to the pose of her figure. And then there'll be, I think, some large dust clouds kind of billowing out from the bottom here that will help be physical support for the wings to build off from, and be supports basically for his body to be suspended in midair. So that'll be the excuse to, create the illusion of levitation. And I'm wondering if I might do them actually like in clear resin, so they look like frosted, like frosted glass kind of look. So they have a bit more transparency, of course. And then he, of course, and she will be solid, and maybe just gray, I don't know, or white. They have like a really beautiful kind of ivory stone looking kind of white resin. Formlabs makes it. Ben S. When making something with folded limbs, do you model and detail it, then bend into place? It's a good question. I guess it goes in different directions. I typically will leave, because I start with a good base mesh already, so I'll move that around. From what I remember, like last couple times I've done it, because I don't do a lot of like human statues. I'm not I've done a few, but I'm trying to think. Usually you go with the pose. You go with the pose first, and then you detail from there. It's nice to have certain things done beforehand because you can work in symmetry. So then that means you're kind of cheating because you're doing the same thing on this arm as you're doing it on the other arm. So you can do both arms at the same time, essentially. But for originality and for authenticity of things, you don't want there to be a lot of exact symmetry on everything, because life isn't symmetrical. Your face, if you cut it in half and you do this, and then if you were to like take a picture of your face and then take half of it and flip it, invert that picture and flip it on the other side, you'd see that things are not equal. They're not perfectly symmetrical. The more symmetrical in life, typically they find to be a little bit more attractive subconsciously with people. And the more asymmetrical, of course, the more abnormal, and that stems into the whole subconscious of just something's not healthy, something's genetically wrong, something is like, it's more frightening. So anyway, balance is good, of course. You want symmetry, but not that much symmetry. So that's why I often encourage people to work asymmetrically after a certain point. Establish your block in your shapes, get everything that's symmetrical, that needs to be generally symmetrical down first, and then start working in your, even your legs are not the same length as each other, your feet, all that. Everything is slightly different in your body. So there can be some variance that was natural. So then I'll sculpt the details in afterwards. Once I've posed the model and had the limbs in different folds in different areas, then I'll sculpt in the detail after. Once they're posed. Yeah, sure, man. No problem. Thank you. Yeah, and thanks, Said. I appreciate it. Yeah, we're getting somewhere. I mean, it's slow but sure. Figuring things out. It's kind of like a Cupid's in it, like an angelic superhero here. That's what I'm going for. I think it's going to be pretty cool when it's done. So yeah, we're going to keep going to this either next week or the week after. Usually it's every 2 weeks, but I'll see. Maybe I'll jump in next Wednesday too. We'll see. But make sure to save this before we close out. Yeah, it's number 2. And yeah, man, these 2 hours flew by pretty fast. It's like nothing. I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope you guys are staying healthy and staying inside when you need to. I don't know, man. We have an international audience here. I just hope that everyone's doing okay. And it's such a weird time, isn't it? I mean, I feel like we're all. It's like you want to say 2 things. It's like I constantly feel like we're double-minded, and even some of my friends who are in the medical field feel the same way. It's like things feel weird right now, and it feels overblown, and yet there is a real danger. There obviously is some sort of virus out there that is named COVID-19. It's right. Thank you. It's surreal. It's weird. It's just a really weird time, and I hate even sounding over dramatic and being like, "Oh, be careful out there," because I don't like to fearmonger, and I don't like to live in fear. I don't believe that should be our spirit, you know. But you want to be smart. You don't want to be stupid. You don't want to put yourself in danger or endanger other people. So just be careful. I don't know. Be smart. Be wise. Make good choices. Um, you know, think of your loved ones and think of taking care of them too. Do what you can. Be friendly. Be kind. I think try to reach out and help people who need it. Um, it's important to think about others more than yourself, or at least to try to think of others more. See where you can help. If you can't help with one way, think of another. Reach out to people who are near you. If you have neighbors that might need some help, check in with them. Yeah, just be good people. I don't know what else to say. Peace and love, man. Yeah. So thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate your time being shared with me too. And thanks, Ben. And yeah, we will continue this. And if I do more work on it, I will post it on Instagram. Feel free to follow me on there. I've got to post more on there. I've been slacking lately, but I've been trying to enjoy life more than too much social media. Although if you follow me on Facebook, you'll see that I've been just posting a bazillion and one Instagrams or memes. And I just want to make people laugh. I want to have a good time while we're all stuck inside and looking at each other's screens. So that's my Instagram if you guys haven't found it. And if you want to jump on board on Facebook, have some laughs, have a little bit of thought provocation. I am this guy. And yeah, my Twitter is just @LionArts, but I don't really tweet all that often. So anyway, guys, all right. Thanks for joining me. I hope you guys had some fun. I hope you guys learned something. And we will continue this in the next video. Take care. Be well. And I'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye.